All right, welcome back to another edition of the Blue Review. As you can tell, I am not in the studio, so shout out to Graham Metzger, producer Graham, for getting things going for us. Appreciate you. Myself, Parker Bell, is here with Marcus Grant.
Yeah,
Parker Grant.
It's Monday. It's okay.
Thank you. Even from home,
We'll get them next time.
I'm still not getting but welcome back, everyone. We got a lot to get into. Dodgers get the series W versus the Colorado Rockies. Friday looked a little shaky. We can react to that game. But the rest of the weekend turned out pretty well for the Dodgers. And, of course, both Yamamoto and Stone looked really great. So before we get into all that, I just want to remind everyone that here at the Blue Review, we're presented by LAX, the Los Angeles International Airport. If you go there, you're going to see that changes are arriving daily. They're looking to reduce traffic, save guest time, and transform that travel experience for everyone. So if you want to learn more, you can find it out at flylax.com/transforminglax. So without further ado, let's kind of get into this weekend, how things went. If anybody in the chat, by the way, I'm curious, showed up yesterday to the dogs at the ballpark, I would love to see some pictures. Send them our way on Twitter. I thought that was really cool seeing the Dodgers do that. But Grant, Marcus, let's start with you. Walker Buehler, bit of a shaky start. What did you see against that Rockies team on Friday?
Yeah, I mean, it just, he struggled with his command, his control. It was a thing that we talked about last week that we wanted to see from him. If he could replicate his previous start where he had incredible command, it just wasn't there. A number of walks, gave up a number of hits early, just really couldn't settle in. But through it all, he only gave up 4 runs. I mean, so it looked ugly in a lot of respects, but he at least left the team in a position to try and get the win. Now, the offense didn't do its part that day, but, credit to Buehler for sort of battling through on a day when he certainly was far from his best.
Yeah, pretty much. We wanted to see something out of Buehler. He didn't, provide what we looked for, but you said it. He grinded. He got through 6 innings. He had a couple 7 strikeouts. He was, it wasn't an amazing outing from him, but it wasn't absolutely terrible either because he was showing that he is kind of Walker Buehler and that he can get out of some tough situations, especially with walking a bunch of dudes. But you're right. It has to be, it's on the offense. Look, this team, no matter who's on the mound, if they gave up only 4 runs, you should win that game. This offense is good enough to win games by scoring more than 4 runs. You can't expect every single starter to give you 1 or 2 runs earned, or otherwise, I mean, you got to score more than 1 run. You just do. You got to give him a little bit of support, and especially against a dude that was 1-7 with like a 5 ERA, which, by the way, Marcus, you fully called. As soon as you saw it, you fully called it.
I hate being right, at least in that situation. Like, I hated being right about that, but it feels that way, right? It's like, it's when you see a guy with an ERA of like 5.5 or the other one's like a guy making his major league debut.
The debut, that's a whole mess.
The major league debut, I just feel like, okay, this is a day when the bats are somehow going to go silent, right? And I know this week coming up in Pittsburgh, they face Paul Skeens, right? And like somehow they're going to like manage 5 runs off this guy, right? Like nobody else can touch this guy. Somehow they're going to score 5 runs off this guy. But like, some guy that just is like an emergency call up that has to start will somehow go like 6 innings of 1-hit baseball against this team. I cannot for the life of me figure out why that happens.
Yeah, and I don't know.
You your credit, Marcus, for calling it on Friday.
Thanks.
They better. That's right, Ruben Flores. Yeah, absolutely. Look, I take the credit when I do something right. You got to give it over to Marcus when he says something right. Like it's just how it goes. I don't know how many times I felt like I seeing a Cy Young level pitcher when it's a dude that's making his very first start. It's insane how that works out. But they won the series, and I think that's the biggest part of all this, right? They won the series. But again, they didn't score very many runs. They scored 4 on Saturday and 4 on Sunday. And
4 was the magic number in this series. Every team that won scored exactly 4 runs in the series.
Yeah. I mean, they lost 1-4, 1-4-1. So very interesting. But brushing Friday aside, as I see Graham in the chat calling Marcus Mark Stradamus. I love it. Brushing Friday aside, because the offense was just absolutely terrible on Friday, and we've seen multiple games like that. So it's not like we haven't talked about it before. But they kind of woke up on Saturday. So Yamamoto came to the mound, and the offense decided to do their thing, the bottom half of the lineup finally showed up. Greg, we saw Teoscar do his thing, hustling around the bases to score on some throwing errors. And then, of course, Hayward got a little double scoring Pages. What did you see really from the bottom half of the lineup just kind of stepping up on Saturday? Was there anyone in particular that you really looked at to be like, wow, yeah, great weekend?
So I think the guy that had the best weekend is definitely Andy Pages. Pages has been hitting recently, and he's getting them in bunches too. So it's just nice to see that he has made those adjustments. And they came for the last week. It seems like, I don't know, Marcus, it's probably been at least since Monday of last week that they were the bottom of the lineup is starting to get hits, and they're getting these hits a little bit in bunches. And so when you see Pages get 3 hits on Saturday, that makes you feel good that he's starting to catch up to some of these pitches and not swinging, missing, being a little bit more patient at the plate. So that's nice to see. But overall, like I like when Miguel Rojas is in there every once in a while, because he just tends to get a hit when you need one. So I don't know. I think the bottom lineup has been better. It still needs to get better, but it is moving along.
Yeah, no, I would say that they picked it up starting really with that series against the Mets. That's when I think they started to really come to life, and it continued through the weekend against Colorado. Hopefully it keeps going into Pittsburgh as well. But yeah, Pages was great. We keep saying it about Rojas. Like, he is in the perfect role for him. He comes in every few days. He plays well. He hits occasionally. He gives you good defense. So that part is sort of working out. Shout out to, if we're talking about guys at the bottom of the order hitting, it's time to give Shohei some love too, now that he's come back, because he's starting to swing the bat really, really well. He had the homer and the triple against the Mets, had a couple of big hits over the weekend against the Rockies. So Jason Hayward's starting to give them a little bit of life at the bottom of the order as well. So some of these guys really starting to kind of come around right now. Now it's just a matter of doing it consistently.
Yeah, it's just about getting healthy, right? So if Shohei is going to start coming through, we're still only waiting on Max Muncy. Muncy still needs to come when he comes in. That's another guy that you can add into that. So when you have your 1 through 5 of Mookie, Shohei, Freddie, Will Smith, and Teoscar, and then you add in Muncy to get to 6, and then you add in Shohei to get to 7, and if Pages is hitting it, it's 8. Then you can kind of mix and match that 9 spot between Lux, who has been getting a little bit better. It can be Miggy Rowe has been coming in pretty good, and you can find guys at that 9th spot to kind of lengthen the lineup. So they're doing well. It's starting to all come together. You just got to get healthy.
Mm-hmm. And you guys mentioned Muncy. Just as we're doing these episodes here on the Blue Review, we want to give you updates as often as possible. So last night, still not good news on the Muncy end. No baseball activities. And, in his words, he's not even sure if frustrating can describe how he's feeling right now, because I think it was like in his rib cage area about 7 to 10 days ago, he felt a little twinge in his words, and he's been shut down from swinging. So we hope nothing but the best for Muncy. But yeah, that doesn't sound like good news. But again, the Dodgers offense, they're still carrying while certain guys are out, just like the bullpen's been doing. While guys are out and unhealthy, they find ways. The Dodgers just always find ways to kind of squeeze out W's. Of course, they got that 6.5 lead in the NL West, so things are still looking up. So moving on to Sunday, shout out to the offense, the bottom half of the lineup doing their thing on Saturday. They kind of kept it going on Sunday, but of course, it was the main guys, Freddie and Mookie, who got things started on Sunday. Marcus, we saw Mookie lead it off with the homer. We saw Freddie, of course, get his thing going as well. What did you see from the offense on that day? And of course, Stone, Mr. All Reliable, I guess. We'll start with the offense, though.
Yeah, start with the offense. I mean, look, it was great to see Mookie started off with a home run. A couple batters later, Freddie hits a home run. So here it is. It's 2-0 pretty much out of the gate. And I don't know what the record is. I know when they hit 1 home run, it's really, really good. If they hit 2 home runs in a game, it's pretty much almost a guaranteed W. So, you can check that box after the first inning. So that part was sort of nice. They did miss some opportunities, though. I mean, they had a couple of chances with the bases loaded where they really failed to do anything big. I know Freddie had a sac fly in one of those, but I think they had a couple of chances to really break the game open and didn't do it. But as you mentioned, Gavin Stone threw the ball so well yet again. He's really locked himself, I think, into this rotation. I know we've talked about what happens when some of these other guys come back. when Bobby Miller gets healthy, when Kershaw finally shows back up in the rotation. At this point, though, I feel like it's going to be really hard to get Gavin Stone out of the rotation the way he has pitched. Every time he's gotten the ball lately, you can almost count on 6 solid innings out of him. It's a really, really great thing to see.
If you want to talk about full-time starters and who is pitching the best right now, I mean, it's over. Obviously, Yamamoto had that really big blow up against the San Diego in Korea, but Gavin Stone has the best ERA of the starters right now.
Yeah.
He has been, that's how good he has been. He has a below 3 ERA, and he is just, every time he comes out, he's being reliable, and he's getting through 6 or 7 innings consistently, and he's striking dudes out. He is having a great year so far, and it's really nice to see, because to me, as of right now, it just seems like he's another guy that, like, the Dodgers just found in the minor league system again to just come up here and be a great pitcher, because that's what he is showing right now. I every time he comes out, I feel safe over his last what has it been, like 7 outings that he's felt that he's done this. Glasnow has an over 3 ERA, Yamamoto over 3, Paxton has an over 3, Buehler has an over 4, Bobby Miller has over 5, obviously with injuries and all those things aside. He's the only starting pitcher below 3, and he's proving it. Every time he's out there, 6 innings, 1 run, 6 innings, no runs. I'm very impressed with what I'm seeing from Gavin Stone.
Yeah, I mean, he had that one game against, real quick, he just had one game against the Diamondbacks where he got touched up for 4 runs. Everything else is like, 1 run, no runs. Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 starts. So like 6 of his last 7 starts, 1 run or fewer.
Yeah.
So it's been great for him.
Yeah, to your point, Greg, I was just going to mention a stat real quick for you, Marcus. Yeah, Dodger pitching has been a big reason this team is 38-23, and only 1 pitcher is in the top 10 in the National League in ERA, and it's Stone. So to your point, Greg, he's absolutely dealing, and I credit it to a change in his approach. The fastball has really improved for Stone. In the past, that's kind of been what was, I don't want to say hindering him, but it was holding him down from leveling up to that primetime starter that we thought he would be. And now he's showing us, and especially these last 5 starts, that he has definitely changed that fastball. The Dodgers tweaked some things, and he's looking great. I think hitters are slugging 282 against the fastball, which
I just saw that stat. Yeah,
it's not prime time, but that's definitely really, really good and a good sign for the Dodgers moving forward. If you're going to have guys like Stone, who are your 3rd guy. I
mean, not prime time, below 300 slug. That's
I was reading that as average. That you're right.
Yeah, no,
I believe that's
slug. Yeah. That's really, really good. That's that is Cy Young level stuff right there that went throughout the whole season. So that's definitely high end on the slug side.
Yeah, no, Stone's looking great. And to all your guys' credit, I mean, I think we kind of had him pinned down here on the Blue Review as someone who was going to be like a key factor here moving forward in this season. And he's done so far. But outside of, Stone, what did you guys see? Marcus, I'll start with you. Just from the bullpen kind of carrying yesterday, they stepped up. We saw a little Vezia again, Greg, and they looked good. But of course, we got somebody back, and Evan Phillips, welcome back, the flamethrower. It's great to see him on the mound. He did get a little bit of playtime. So Marcus, what did you see from Phillips?
It's just nice to see him back again and getting some work. And it was equally nice that they weren't forced to use him on back-to-back days, that they had that 4-run lead going to the 9th inning on Sunday. So it wasn't even a decision, right? It was like, okay, we can just go out there and let Vesia, close this thing out. But yeah, it's good to see him back in there, let him get comfortable again. We know that the bullpen has been very good. Now it's a chance to sort of work on more roles again. I mean, they had kind of been closer by committee while Phillips was away. Now they've got the guy that they know they want the 9th inning back. So now you can start setting up, who's your 7th inning guy? Who's your 8th inning guy? Who's maybe your situational guy? So I think that's the benefit of getting him back in there this past weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I love Evan Phillips. I actually have not felt this comfortable with a closer in a really long time. And I'm including Kenley Jansen. I've never really felt comfortable with Kenley Jansen. And so there's a lot of discussion last week. Like Alana Rizzo was on Mason in Ireland, and she was mentioning bring in Kenley Jansen. And Mason was all in on bringing in Kenley Jansen. And I said, why are we trying to fix an issue that doesn't exist? Evan Phillips is not going to come out there with some big old song that everybody's going to be like, oh, Evan Phillips is coming out like they did with Kenley or with Gagne or any of those guys. But he comes out there, he does his job, he strikes guys out, he just keeps them off bounds. He is a very, very good closer. I feel comfortable, and I'm sure you do too, Mark, is when he's out there, it's like, okay, this thing's locked down. It's over. So I don't know why everybody wants to get rid of Evan Phillips as the closer. He's doing a great job. Just leave the thing that's working. And just not to belabor a point that it was Daniel Hudson closed out yesterday, and I was actually a little bit worried because it was a 3-run lead in the 8th. I'm like, what are they going to do? Are they going to bring back Phillips on back-to-back? But Hudson was ready right from the beginning. They were not going to put him on that second day. But it was nice to see Evan back because he is an anchor at the end. I'm very, very much against bringing in any closer, especially Kenley Jansen. I don't know how you feel about it, but leave me Evan Phillips.
Yeah, I feel like the Kenley thing is mostly nostalgia, right?
Yes.
It's going back to that. And look, Kenley did some really good things for this franchise for a number of years, but I do think that moment is sort of in the past, and I don't get the point of trying to come and relive it. Maybe it is. Maybe it's something about having a closer with flair. It's having, the big guy come out of the bullpen. Maybe it's, it's Edwin Diaz and the trumpets and that sort of thing. Maybe that's what people want out of a closer. Like, I guess that's fun. Let's just go out there and just get 3 outs and let's just be done with it. Like, it doesn't have to be flashy. It just has to be effective. And Evan Phillips is incredibly effective.
Right. See, that's what I want. I don't need the pageantry. I need the outs. Like, I'll take the outs over the pageantry any day of the week.
We get pageantry afterwards when Randy Newman starts playing. Like, that's the pageantry,
Sure. Once I Love LA starts going, like, everybody feels great. I don't need to have all that other stuff ahead of time. Just go out there, be unassuming, and just get the dudes out that Evan Phillips does.
And let's be real. The Dodgers are the pageantry in themselves. I mean, when they go up against the Yankees coming up here in the road trip, whether it's Evan Phillips, whether it's Vesia, whoever's on the mound, it's primetime television regardless. So I get the point, of maybe reminiscing and having the Kenley feel. But I'm with you, Greg, on this one. Phillips is absolutely dominating, and he has for the last couple of years. So that's our guy, and throw him out there. We'll see what happens moving forward, though, towards the trade deadline. I kind of wanted to touch on a cool stat, though, something that we've been doing on the Blue Review recently. And Freddie, just in general, we mentioned he did his thing yesterday. I think if you're looking at the day, he started off with the home run, and then he went walk, stolen base, walk, intentional walk, sack fly. Like, this dude's OPS is just insane. And he's just continuing to move it up, which is really cool. But I saw that home run of his yesterday was, I think, his 328th, which put him for 119th in the MLB overall in history. And you know who it tied him with? Dodgers legend Shawn Green.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, so all kind of full circle, because we remember when Freddie came over here to the Dodgers, a bit of the reason was because of Shawn Green and Freddie's relationship to his father, who was once Freeman's hitting coach as a youth. So really cool to see full circle that Freddie will now, of course, pass Shawn Green coming up soon as the Dodgers head to Pittsburgh. And I really think that Freddie's going to go on a hot streak this month. So I'm expecting another home run out there in PNC.
So here's a weird thing. And I thought about this yesterday as I was, I was out in the backyard grilling and listening to the game on radio, but
working on your broccoli.
Just like making sure the broccoli's coming in and everything, all that good stuff. But I had this weird feeling because, late in the game, the Dodgers had a couple of men on. They intentionally walked Shohei to get to Freddie. He ended up getting the sacrifice fly. It wasn't like the big blow, but he did drive in a run. In that moment, I know this, I get it strategically, but I don't know about you. At this moment, I think I'd rather pitch to Shohei than Freddie. Just, you got Shohei in a massive slump. Maybe I'm overthinking this right now, right? Like, maybe this is me being too granular and watching this team every day. But right now, Shohei is kind of in a slump, and Freddie's starting to get hot. I really felt like if I was in that situation, I might have considered pitching to Shohei and just seeing if I could keep him, kind of swinging badly right now rather than taking my shot at Freddie Freeman.
Yeah, I was thinking basically the exact same thing. Like, that's interesting. You're intentionally walking Shohei, which I mean, usually is right. But the only thing I can think of is like, it's usually, of course, you don't do that. That's the wrong thing to do. But as of right now, it's a tough one. But also it's kind of like, do you want to be the guy to get Shohei going again?
Yeah, that's true. That's fair.
Like if you throw him a pitch and he blasts the ball out of the yard, or he hits like a double or a triple, or does something like amazing, and he starts feeling it again, that's on you now. You just got him to find his swing again.
Right.
So I was a little bit. The question that I had about Shohei, though, because Freddie is always that was the one guy that everybody said, no matter what, he's going to be steady. He's going to figure it out. I believe in Freddie Freeman, right? But with Shohei, his average over his entire career is between 260 and 280. He's batting over 320 still at this point in the season. Are we expecting a regression? And Parker, you've seen this more than anybody, that he is a guy that hits about 270. That's usually who he is. Is he going to stay up here because of this team and this lineup, or is he going to revert to the mean that everybody pretty much knows him as, a guy that strikes out a lot, hits about 270?
Yeah, well, here's the thing. They mentioned on the broadcast, his average went down 30 points, but he was still hitting 312 in May. So it's one of those where Shohei, he does have rough moments. We've known this. He's a streaky hitter, and when he hits home runs, he hits them in bunches. When he strikeouts in bunches. Seeing him in the past out in Anaheim, he has had some pretty tough months where he's hitting around that average, 260. He's got some strikeouts, but then he's also had literally all-time months. Like outside of maybe Aaron Judge, no hitter has had better months than Shohei Ohtani in the last, 2 or 3 years. So I think, to your point, Greg, Freddie is that guy who we can trust to just consistently ride it out, and it's going to be a conversation that pitchers are going to have, and opposing teams like, do I want to pitch to this guy or that guy? But I think I'm with you on this one, Greg, where it's like, you don't want to be that guy who gets Shohei hot, because he could have possibly the greatest month a DH has ever had in history. He could still break records. He's breaking records he's a unicorn.
He is a unicorn. And I think that being in this lineup will sort of help him stabilize a little bit. I mean, I think Parker's right. He's going to have, I don't know, it's things where it's his swing gets off, or maybe he's just trying too hard. I'm not sure what it is, but he just goes through these stretches when it just looks kind of rough. But in this lineup, you can't really pitch around him. That's the benefit here versus, say, in Anaheim, where Mike Trout was really the only other threat you had to worry about. So
from the IL.
Right.
Hey, Taylor Ward got an all-star nod.
At some point, if you were an opposing pitcher, you could fish a little bit, right? You could see if maybe he would chase. And if you're Shohei, you probably did expand your zone, because you might be the only offense for the night. Whereas, here in LA, here with the Dodgers, we know what Mookie's going to do. We know Freddie, Will Smith, Muncy when he's healthy. There are so many other places they can go for production that he doesn't necessarily have to be ultra aggressive, because at some point they've got to throw him strikes.
Yeah, so that's pretty much what it is. I truly believe he can stay over 300 because of that. Is that because of Freddie and Will Smith behind him and Mookie in front of him? He's not going. You have to throw him pitches, and if he just keeps right now, he's missing on a lot of pitches that are outside, that are low. Like he's just swinging. It seems like he's just kind of swinging at pitches he's not usually swinging at this year. But if he can just kind of keep his zone in a little bit more and start to focus on just the strike zone, then I think he'll go back to what he was. But it only takes one. Like he's just he's gonna go off at some point, and like he's still leading the teams in home runs. He's in RBIs and everything. Like the dude is still. Actually, I don't know about RBIs. I think Teoscar is leading in RBIs, but either way, they're tied. But either way, like the dude's still absolutely amazing, and I'm thinking about like, what happens if he drops down a couple of points in his batting average? If he gets on base at a 400 clip and has a high slug, I don't care. Just do whatever you're gonna do.
Yeah. Well, and he has a team leading 14 stolen bases. I mean, even when he gets on, sometimes we've seen it where he has been a self-generating run machine, right? It was like, was it walk, stolen base, steals third, throwing error, he gets home. Like, he can do that when he has to for this team.
That's Maury Wills type stuff. Like that's how he scored. They won games 1-0 because of things like that.
Exactly.
So if we're gonna compare his base running abilities to Maury Wills, then what are we talking about? Hey, what's up, Beto? We only got about 10 seconds left, so unfortunately, you can take your pick. All right, but we're cleaning up now.
Shout out to Beto for popping in. Well, we'll close out here. Of course, the Dodgers they got themselves a little series against the Pirates coming up. We'll see Glasnow on the mound versus, I think, another good Pirate rookie, Jared Jones. And, of course, Tyler started his career in Pittsburgh, so that'll be a cool little, full circle moment for him. And Shohei,
do we see Paul Skeens?
Yep, on Wednesday, I believe.
Ooh, that's going to be a good one. Tuesday, it looks like. Tomorrow, versus James Paxton. God, he gets James Paxton. And all right. I'm excited for that one. I'm not going to be here tomorrow, by the way. So it's going to be you guys solo tomorrow. Nope.
It'll be Parker probably solo.
All right. Hey, well, I'll figure it out. Regardless, we'll bring Dodgers content to you from the Blue Review, 9:30, 9:55. So be sure to stay tuned. Hop in the chat. Hang out with us, as Graham says in the chat. Blue Review Nation. Let's go. Thank you to LAX. Thank you, Marcus Grant, for pulling up. Corporate Greg and myself, Parker Bell. We will see you tomorrow. And thank you, Graham. Go ahead and cue that music or just end it. Either way, it's fine.